Yes.
Okay, so this is my other soldier. I know a lot of you are probably wondering why I'm doing two. So, oh, I'm gonna start crying. This is John Keith Lundberg. He was known by Jack, so I'm gonna call him Jack. So Jack was the original soldier I picked. He was born and grew up about a mile from where I live. I drive past his house all the time. Last year, a high school student from Utah was in the high school version of this program, and he chose Jack. Which doesn't surprise me because Jack is, a good person to pick. But I still wanted to write on Jack because he was such an amazing person. I tried to think of some words that remind me of Jack, and I came up with 14. So I tried to minimize it down, and the biggest ones were love, selflessness, and hardworking. So Jack was born on December 3rd, 1918 to Grace and Fred Lundberg, the 9th of 11 children. He had 3 half-siblings on both sides. He and his brothers were extremely close, and they did everything together. Jack and his siblings, they loved playing outside. They were very outdoorsy. Their family wasn't the richest, but they still had a lot of fun. Jack was very intellectual and extremely smart. When he was in high school, he greatly excelled at debate. And then he attended the University of Utah for 4 years, and there he graduated with a degree in business. In August 1941, he was drafted, and he enlisted on September 10th. And a few weeks later, Jack was sent to Camp Roberts, and later on he was, pegged for the Air Force. And he was sent to Hondo, Texas, where he trained in navigation. He was commissioned on April 1st, 1943, and he stayed there to be an instructor in navigation. I don't know when he met his wife, but they were married on November 15, 1943 in Salt Lake City. It was probably a great big delight for his extremely pious Catholic mother. He was the only son to get married to a Catholic and in a Catholic ceremony. The rest of his brothers left the faith and married other women of religions. So Jack was sent overseas in April 1944. He arrived in Bridgewell, England on May 13, 1944, and he was assigned to a crew under John Houston. However, after about 15 missions, Jack's talents were noticed, and he was pulled off of the crew to train as a lead navigator. On Jack's very first mission as lead navigator on June 22nd, he and a fleet of 9 other ships were flying over Abbeville, France. The plane tried to attempt to bomb the railway station at a low altitude. That's the right terminology. And they were hit by flak. The plane blew up in midair and crashed. The majority of the men on Jack's crew were found that day, but Jack was not found until February 1945, about 9 months later. Jack's death was extremely devastating for his family. They were all so close, but despite this, they have never forgotten him. So I'm gonna just read some letters that Jack wrote his family. He had only been overseas for 6 days when he wrote these letters. So this is the first one. Dear Mom, Pop, and family, now that I'm actually here, I see that the chances of my return to you all are quite slim. Therefore, I want to write this letter now while I am yet alive. I want you to know how much I love each of you. You mean everything to me, and it is the realization of your love that gives me the courage to continue. Mom and Pop, We caused you innumerable hardships and sacrifices, sacrifices which you have both made readily and gladly that we might get more from life. I have always determined to show my appreciation to you by enabling you both to have more of the pleasures of life. But this war has prevented my so doing for the past 3 years. If you receive this letter, I shall be unavailable to fulfill my desires, for I requested that this letter be forwarded only in the event that I do not return. You have had many times more than your share of illnesses and deaths in the family. Still, you have continued to exemplify what true parents should. I am sorry to add to your grief, but at all times realize that my thoughts are of you constantly, and that I feel in some small way I am helping to bring this wasteful war to a conclusion. We of the United States have something to fight for. Never more fully have I realized that. There is just no other country with comparable wealth, advancement, or standard of living. The USA is worth a sacrifice. Remember always that I love each of you most fervently, and I am proud of you. Consider Mary my wife as having taken my place in the family circle and watch over each other. Love to my family, Jack. And a month and a half ago, I was reading a book by the 381st chaplain, so it's the group Jack was in, and I found a letter that he wrote his wife, that the chaplain had wrote. So I just want to read a little excerpt from that. He wrote, "My dear wife, I have asked that this letter be delivered to you in the event that I am unable to return to you. Only one occurrence can prevent our reunion. If mishap does befall me, I want you to know that I love you to the utmost of human capacity to love. Since you entered my life, everything in life has taken on a new and dearer meaning. The most commonplace activity, if shared with you, has been a joyful adventure. I am not a complete personality when we are separated. I have thanked God many times for permitting me the privilege of being your husband. Due to the war, we were never able to lead the normal, happy, eventful life that our marriage promised us. But even the few short months that we were together foretold a completely successful marriage and made me realize even more fully what a truly wonderful and beautiful wife was mine. Together in days of peace, we would have undoubtedly led an exemplary married life, and I am positive that with your inspiration, I would have realized my most cherished ambitions. It is difficult to write a letter such as this, for I am now very much alive and very much in love with you. But nevertheless, one must face the contingency of death under these circumstances, and I do so want you to know now and forever of my devoted love for you. Mary, if I do not come back, do not grieve unduly for me. You are still young, still beautiful, still desirable, still wonderful, and much too great a woman to let such an event affect your complete life. Remember me always, yes, but do not lose sight of that which life has to offer you." I think it says a lot that Jack, he was only 25, and yet he had such maturity to write these letters to his family. Jack's nephew, Rich, wanted me to give Jack a message. He wanted me to let Jack know that he loves him so dearly and that he is so mad and sad that Jack died and that he could never really fully know him. He asked if I could read a poem. "Oh, I have slipped the surely bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlight silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up the long delirious burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew. And while with silent, lifting mind I've trod the high, unsurpassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God." Jack's legacy has not been forgotten at all in his family. They love him so much. And it also, I've seen, it still exists today. He was quoted in a speech by President Bush on sacrifice. He was mentioned in a Washington Post article about, how he died for all these things, and the author was essentially arguing that President Trump is causing these things that Jack died for, against to come back. But I know that Jack will continue to impact people. I have no doubt. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your service and sacrifice to our country, Jack. You hoped to make some small difference in the war, and I think you did. But you have made an even bigger difference in my life. You have given me such a profound understanding and appreciation for service and sacrifice. My gratitude has grown deeply because of you, and I will never, ever, ever take freedom for granted again. Thank you so much, Jack.